whatever else you happen to be doing this minute. If you're making dinner, if you're drying the dishes, if you're checking your email, stop. Stop and take a good, long look at the face that I'm about to show you. Pause your TV and make sure you get a picture. Take a picture of your TV, get a screen grab, and I need you to share it far and wide. This is Jesse Mack Butler, 18 years old. He's from Stillwater, Oklahoma. That's a college town. It is also home to, Oklahoma State University, right? And it's about an hour north of Oklahoma City. And back in March, when Jesse Mack Butler was 17, he was charged as an adult with a string of sadistic sex crimes against 2 girls. They were fellow students at Stillwater High School. One of the girls was choked unconscious and almost died, according to her doctor. Jesse Butler was charged with 10 felony counts in all, and it is very important you see the list. I think you'll get a picture of what happened when you see this list of charges. 2 attempted rapes, 3 charges of rape by instrumentation, and you'll have to use your imagination about what that means, but yeah, it is literal. 1 count of sexual battery, 1 count of forcible oral sodomy, 2 counts of domestic assault and battery by strangulation, and 1 count of domestic assault and battery. And while there were even more and way bigger charges that the state likely could have thrown at this kid, like attempted murder, the 2 alleged victims and their families had every reason to believe that the wheels of justice were hard at work on this case, both for them and for the accused, Jesse Mack Butler. And before I tell you what ended up happening, let me tell you why he faced those specific charges, what he actually did to those 2 girls. You should know that these details are extremely graphic. They are despicable, but they are critical to this story, especially when you find out how the judge came down in this case. So fair warning, trigger warning, what I'm about to list out for you is very uncomfortable to say and to hear. A police affidavit says a girl who's identified only as LS because she's a minor dated Jesse Butler for about 3 months, starting in January of last year. She was 16 at the time. And during that time, the victim said Butler repeatedly raped and attempted to rape her and would strangle her if she refused. The teenage girl needed surgery to repair the damage done to her neck by the strangulation. And her doctor told her that she would have died had that strangulation lasted another 30 seconds. The girl said that she gave in to Jesse Mack Butler because he threatened to kill her and he threatened to kill her family if she didn't give in. A separate affidavit says in March of last year, Butler took up with another 16-year-old girl identified only as KS. And that relationship lasted 6 months, but this teenager also said that Butler was aggressive and violent with her and says she went along with all the unwanted sex to avoid being hurt further. This victim also said that one time when she did refuse, Butler strangled her too. But get this, he recorded himself strangling her until she passed out. And lest you think this might be just a he said, she said, police later found that video on Jesse Mack Butler's phone. So that's what we call evidence. Jesse Butler pleaded not guilty to everything, as was his right off the bat. But in the coming months, for reasons that I will not pretend tonight to understand, the DA's office struck a deal with Butler's lawyers to change his status from adult to youthful offender. The victim's families begged the DA, please do not do that. Please, no. But in July, a judge decided to sign off on this. And in August, Jesse Mack Butler changed his plea from not guilty to no contest, meaning he knew there was ample evidence to convict him. And you should know that a conviction is the result of a no contest plea, right? That's what you get, convicted. By the way, I mentioned there were 10 counts before, but by August, there was 1 more. So the grand tally now stood at 11. The new count was for violating a protective order, which Oh my God. Facing 10 felony counts and violating a protective order should have been a hell of a red flag for anybody, somebody. But the very same day that happened, Butler was sentenced to 78 years in prison, which sounds like a fitting punishment for somebody who nearly kills 2 teenage girls and rapes them repeatedly with all sorts of things. But as a youthful offender, Jesse Mack Butler was also entitled to special treatment, like a rehabilitation plan, which was drawn up by the Oklahoma Office of Juvenile Affairs, and that plan was presented to the court last week. This new punishment called for daily check-ins, weekly counseling, a curfew, no social media, and 150 hours of community service. Bam! They really brought down the hammer, huh? 150! Oh, that's like 3 weeks if you work really hard. This new plan is scheduled to stay in effect until Jesse Mack Butler turns 19, and that, my friends, is less than a year from now. So, wow, long punishment. Here's another kick in the teeth, if you're anybody other than Jesse Mack Butler or his family. If he complies with his court-ordered rehab punishment for that less than a year, and if he doesn't break any more laws, his record will be wiped squeaky clean. He won't spend a day in prison, his name won't appear on any sex offender registry, and nobody in other towns or other schools or universities or businesses or dating sites will have a clue as to who Jesse Mack Butler really is or what his proclivities have been. If you run a background check on him, again, thinking about dating him, hiring him, none of this is going to show up unless you maybe get my show, maybe some of the online talk. That's why I suggested off the top of this show, grab a screen grab of that. That's the face. I mean, he's young, he's gonna change, but that's him. Spread that far and wide. That's all you got, folks. That is all you have to protect your girls and protect yourself. And now I'm going to stop because I am livid, and I'm going to let Justin Shepard have a word here. He's a digital journalist whose online handle is Just in the Nick of Crime. He has been on this case from the beginning. And let me tell you, Justin, you have done some unbelievable digging, not just on the case itself, but the justice system and the players, not only the judge, but the judge's father and those involved. It sounds to me, and this is just a very sweeping comment, Justin, but it sounds to me like this is like the low country Murdochs and how they used to run justice in their neck of the woods. Am I off here?
No, you're not. In fact, it's funny you said Murdoch, because I was talking about somebody else about this today earlier, and I said this is just like the Murdoch situation with how deep this goes. And yeah, normally when I get a story that comes across my desk and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this one, and I'm like you, when I first saw this one, I was absolutely livid. I still am. And the next thing I knew, I had so many people reaching out to me about the way Stillwater, Oklahoma's judicial system handles things, the type of punishment that sex offenders get or lack thereof. And it goes much deeper than I would have even begun to have imagined.
So let me ask you this. Why no attempted murder charge? The doctor who treated the first victim, who has the surgery scar from the welt and the intense swelling that continued after the strangulation, he said that if she was strangled 30 more seconds, she was going to die. Why was there not an attempted murder charge in this case?
That's a great question, and your guess is as good as mine. I mean, maybe perhaps at the beginning they felt they didn't need it with the other litany of charges that they had, that they ended up, pleading down to, 150 hours of community service. But it seems to me when you've strangled somebody twice, to the point that one of them needs surgery, why that wasn't an attempted murder charge it's beyond me.
Is this kid in school with these girls? Because he's walking free. He is out there. Is he allowed to go to school with these girls?
So that's a great question. Right now, he's virtual school. So he is still enrolled at Stillwater High School. He is enrolled virtually, so he can't be seen with these girls or he can't go see them. However, it is my understanding from people close to the case, people close to some of the students at the school, that he is still texting, trying to hook up, asking if they're single, things like that. So it's like none of this meant anything to him. Like, it's basically, hey, I got a slap on the wrist. This is a get out of jail free card. So I'm just going to continue to live my life with these minor inconveniences.
So during all of this, he allegedly is still trying to hook up with other girls at the school, presumably who know all about what happened to these two fellow classmates.
That's my understanding, yes.
Wow. I mean, I guess I should be surprised if he was violating a restraining order during all of this adjudication, during the fact that he was facing 78 years in prison. He still decides to violate a restraining order?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about a big elephant in the room here, which is who Jesse Mack Butler really is. So his father is a man by the name of Mack Butler, and if you Google him, he will show up as a former athletic director or director of football for Oklahoma State University, for OSU, which is a pretty big job. He worked at one point for LSU. He's been with several universities throughout bowl games, and then he was hired on at Stillwater High School as an athletic director. And if you look at the news article from when he was hired, the whole town knows who this guy is. Like, you know, a name that you know well around town is now coming to Stillwater High School. So this is a family that is very well connected to the Stillwater area. For a college town, a football town, you know, you can't get much higher than somebody who is involved in the athletics, which his father is.
Let me ask you this. Justin, how about this? The judge in this case, Judge Susan Worthington, I read your Substack about all of the figures in the justice system, and it did not sound good. They are extraordinarily lenient. Their track record looks as though it's like sexual deviance. Oh, well, whatever. A lot of the sentences, a lot of the bail has let sexual offenders run rampant in this community. First, I think this judge, second, her father ahead of her. Tell me if I've got that wrong. But did Judge Susan Worthington here on your screen, was she also connected to the offender's dad at OSU or through any of the athletics programs?
So this is all, you know, unconfirmed speculation or rumors, I could say, based on what I've heard, is that she and her dad, whose name was Don Worthington, and the two of them, I think it's worth noting, have kind of ran the bench in Stillwater, the judiciary, for about 50 years. So the two of them have kind of been, you know, over everything. And it's my understanding that both of them, the father and now the daughter, Judge Susan Worthington, are very much involved with OSU athletics, whether it's as donors, whether it's as supporters. That's just kind of what I've been told.
What's the recourse here? I got about 20 seconds left. There's got to be something that these families can do.
The only thing that you really have as far as reopening the case is if the DA decides to do that. I believe that's Laura Thomas. And based on what I've started to learn about her, that's highly unlikely. The only other thing that these families could do is probably sue the Butler family legally, given the fact that Jesse was under 18 at the time. That would possibly make the parents liable. But that's kind of the most you're going to be able to do, other than make sure that his face is everywhere. Because once, like you said, he turns 19 years old, this is wiped clean. So all we're going to have is a Google search.
It's just unfathomable. We just had the list of charges up on the screen again, Justin. It's just, again, 11 charges, 10 of them extraordinarily violent. He pled to them. This is not allegations. This isn't he said, she said. These things happened to those girls. And 150 hours of community service and a couple of check-ins and no social media is all he's going to get. It just doesn't seem like this is America, if that's the kind of justice that these families are going to get. Stay on this with me. Please break in at any time. My phone is on speed dial to you. Let's continue to cover this and see what happens. I think there's a protest coming up, right? Is it November 5th? November 5th?
Yes, November 5th in Stillwater. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's see how many people turn out for that, because at some point the dam is going to break. Justin, great job in reporting this. Justin Shepard, often with us. I just want to read something real quickly. The DA, again, she's Lauren Thomas. Her office sent us a statement, and I'm going to read it to you in part. The youthful offender sentence imposed against Jesse Butler requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist in sex offender treatment. And should he fail, he faces reclassification as an adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison. It goes on to say youthful offender was the most likely final outcome, particularly because the 2 counts of attempted rape were the only alleged crimes among the 11 charged that even qualified the case for filing in adult court. And additionally, because existing law strongly favors providing offenders under 18 an opportunity for rehabilitation. Blah, blah, blah. I know how it works. And I know something else that's really big. It's the word discretion. And that's what DAs have, discretion. Everybody around the country exercises it. Where's yours? Continue to follow that.